Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take the scattered pieces of a subject and put them together to reveal the hidden truth.
And today, we're diving into a mind that has fascinated and, let's be honest, frustrated readers for decades.
Holden Caulfield. And before we get into any of the sources, I think we need to just put the core psychological truth right on the table.
Let's do it.
The reason Holden calls everyone on the planet a phony isn't actually because he despises them.
No, not really. It's a defense mechanism, a really powerful and ultimately self-destructive one.
It's his armor. By labeling everyone first, rejecting them before they can get to know him.
He protects himself.
Yeah.
He ensures he can't be hurt by genuine vulnerability because he never allows it to happen.
He chooses to feel superior and lonesome over feeling, well, connected and possibly disappointed. He'd rather reject you first.
Exactly. And the sources for this are really the opening chapters of his own story. It's basically an intimate self-diagnosis.
So our mission for this deep dive is to get inside that emotional logic. We're going to move past just literary critique and try to understand the fear that drives him and why he's still such a powerful symbol of, frustrated youth. #tag. Okay, so let's start with that armor, the word phony.
Yeah.
It's his weapon of choice.
It's the perfect weapon, isn't it? It's so broad. He can apply it to anyone who doesn't meet this impossible standard of authenticity he's created.
Anyone, the headmaster, Dr. Thurmer, his roommate Stradlater.
Even people he barely knows, like the three women in the lavender room. It's this constant condemnation.
But a lot of teenagers are cynical. They see hypocrisy in the adult world. What makes Holden's case different? Why is it a defense mechanism and not just, him being observant?
It's the consistency. But more importantly, it's the timing of the judgment. He uses it like a shield the second he feels a real emotion.
Right.
Think about when he's leaving Pensy Prep for good. He's just been kicked out, he's packed his bags, and he admits right there on the page that he feels sad and lonesome.
That's the real feeling. The vulnerability is showing.
It is. And what does he do in that exact moment? He puts on his red hunting hat, which is his, symbol of being separate, and he turns around and yells,
"Sleep tight, ya morons!"
Exactly. That's the mechanism in action. He rejects the very people he secretly, deep down, feels sad about leaving. The contempt is just a cover for the sorrow.
And it's not just contempt. He builds another layer on top of that, which is just outright lying. He tells you himself, "I'm the most terrific liar you ever saw in your life."
And his lies are so fascinating because they're not really for personal gain. They're to protect his inner self.
Like on the train with Mrs. Morrow?
Yeah, he could just tell her his name. It's the simplest thing. But no, he has to become Rudolf Schmidt, the janitor. He invents a whole persona to avoid the most basic level of intimacy.
It gets even more bizarre later on with Sunny, the prostitute. To get out of the situation, he doesn't just say, "No thanks." He invents a medical condition.
An operation on his clavichord.
Which isn't even a real thing you get an operation on.
Right. And that's what's so telling. The lie is completely unnecessary. But he needs this fictional physical barrier, a tumor, a surgery, to justify not engaging. It's a total refusal to be his real self in a moment of vulnerability.
It's all about control. And that red hunting hat, it's the physical symbol of all of this. He puts it on when he needs courage, when he wants to separate himself from the moron.
It's his uniform of nonconformity. But it's also, a security blanket. It lets him be the observer, watching from a safe distance, totally isolated, but also, in his mind, superior.
#tag.
So if the contempt and the lies are the symptoms, then the disease, the core issue, has to be this deep, paralyzing fear of change.
Absolutely. He sees adulthood not as growth, but as corruption, a kind of inevitable decay.
And this is where we get to the heart of his anxiety. You can see it so clearly in two key symbols he keeps coming back to in the sources.
The museum and the ducks.
Let's start with the museum. He loves the Museum of Natural History, not for the history, but for the stillness. The permanence. He loves that the Eskimo is always fishing, the birds are always flying south. Nothing ever changes in those glass cases.
And he says it himself. He says the only thing that would be different when he went back would be you. He understands that he's the one who's changing, moving closer to this phony adult world he dreads.
Yeah, he just wishes he could stop it. He has this fantasy of preservation, right? He says, certain things, they should stay the way they are. You ought to be able to stick them in one of those big glass cases and just leave them alone.
He wants to freeze life at the moment of perfect childhood innocence. But of course, he can't live in a glass case.
So he projects that fear onto the world around him. Which brings us to the ducks.
The ducks in the Central Park Lagoon.
He is obsessed with them. He keeps asking cab drivers, where do the ducks go when the lagoon freezes over?
And he's not asking about biology or migration patterns, is he? It's a much deeper question. It's about survival. The frozen lagoon is the world turning cold and hostile. It's adulthood. He needs to know that these innocent things have a safe place to go when everything freezes.
He's really asking where he's supposed to go.
Which leads directly to the person in his life who found a permanent, safe place. His brother, Allie.
Allie is the gold standard. He died young, so he's frozen in time. He's permanently immune to becoming a phony. He is the ideal of kindness, intelligence, and purity.
And Holden measures everyone against him.
And everyone fails, of course. How could they not?
The most sacred object Holden has is Allie's baseball mitt, the one with the poems written all over it in green ink. When he's asked to write a simple composition about a house or a room,
he writes about the mitt. He focuses on this perfect relic of innocence that can never, ever disappoint him. Hashtag, tag, tag.
This obsession with purity, with this impossible standard, it just cripples his ability to form any real connections.
It really does. He can only seem to tolerate people who fit into two boxes. Either they are permanently innocent, like his sister Phoebe.
Or Jane Gallagher.
Or they're so socially removed that they pose zero threat to him.
Let's talk about Jane. She is, for him, the height of uncorrupted innocence. He trusts her enough to show her Allie's mitt, which is a huge deal.
It is. And he fixates on this one detail about her, how she plays checkers.
She keeps all her kings in the back row.
She keeps them in the back row. She refuses to move them.
Yeah.
It's this perfect symbol of her refusing to fully play the messy, competitive game. To him, that means she's still pure.
And their intimacy had to stay pure, too. He talks about comforting her on her porch, kissing her everywhere but her mouth.
Right, because that would have crossed a line into something more adult, more complicated. And that's why he absolutely loses his mind over his roommate Stradlater going on a date with her.
Stradlater is the ultimate phony jock. He represents the sexual adult world that would destroy Jane's kings in the back row innocence.
Exactly. And then you have the other side of it, the nuns.
The nuns he meets for breakfast, he has so much respect for them.
He does, because they exist completely outside his system of judgment. They're genuinely charitable, they're humble, they're not trying to be witty or impressive.
He feels sad that they only eat toast and coffee.
Because they aren't part of the lavish, phony world he hates.
Yeah.
He can have a real, simple, non-judgmental connection with them.
But all of this just comes to a head in the most painful way in that scene with the prostitute, Sonny. That is the ultimate act of self-sabotage.
Oh, it's a perfect storm of all his fears. He calls for her out of pure, crushing loneliness. He thinks maybe he can use it for practice.
But the second she walks in the room, his entire defense system goes on red alert.
She's too real. She's young, she's nervous, she's wearing this green dress that he finds depressing, because he imagines her buying it in the store like a regular person.
She becomes human, not an object, and that shatters his fantasy.
It completely does. The reality of a sexual transaction with a real, vulnerable person is too much. It threatens the impossible purity he demands from women.
So what does he do? He calls it off. He pays her just to leave and invents that clavichord operation story again.
It's just a total victory for his defense mechanisms over his actual human needs. He says he felt more depressed than sexy. And of course he did. He chose isolation again. Hashtag hashtags.
And eventually, these defenses, they can't hold. The sheer weight of his loneliness just starts to crack the armor.
It leads to a full-blown psychological crisis.
Yeah.
You see it when he's walking up Fifth Avenue.
That scene is terrifying. He's completely alone, and he starts having this panic attack. He feels like every time he steps off a curb, he's going to fall and just disappear.
Just go down, 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 and nobody'd ever see me again.
Mm-hmm.
That's his deepest fear realized, that his isolation will literally erase him.
And who does he call out to for help?
The only person who's permanently safe.
Allie. Allie, don't let me disappear, please, Allie. He's begging his dead brother to keep him anchored to reality.
And after that terror, what's his solution? What's his grand plan?
The ultimate retreat. He'll go out west, pretend to be a deaf mute, and build a cabin.
No more goddamn stupid, useless conversations. It's the fantasy of total control. A complete and final withdrawal from the messy, painful world of other people.
But he can't escape it. The world intrudes. And the moment that really breaks him is when he sees the graffiti at Phoebe's school.
The "F*** scratched into the wall. He tries to rub it out, but then he sees another one.
And that's when he gets it. It's a moment of terrible maturity, isn't it?
It is. He realizes the corruption isn't just in certain people or places, it's everywhere. It's irreversible. He says, you couldn't rub out even half the fuck you signs in the world. His crusade to protect innocence was always impossible.
And after all that, after all the walls he's built, the only thing that actually gets through to him is an act of pure love.
From Phoebe, when she gives him her Christmas money, all of it, $8.85.
He just breaks down. He started to cry and couldn't help it.
That small, selfless act from the one person he was trying to protect is what finally shatters his armor. It's the authentic connection he was craving all along, and it proves that real connection, ironically, requires the very risk of pain and disappointment he was trying so hard to avoid. Hashtag tag tag tag.
So when you look back at all the sources, you see this tragic repeating cycle. Holden feels lonely. He seeks connection.
But the second he gets close, he judges the person as a phony to create distance and feel superior.
Which makes him feel isolated and even more lonely, so he tries to fix it with these superficial interactions that are doomed to fail.
And the engine driving all of it is fear. Fear of change, fear of being disappointed, fear of becoming an adult, all hidden under this thick layer of cynicism.
It reminds me of the quote his old teacher, Mr. Antolini, shares with him.
The mark of the immature man is that he wants to die nobly for a cause, while the mark of the mature man is that he wants to live humbly for one.
And Holden wants that noble cause so badly. He wants to be the catcher in the rye, this grand, heroic figure saving children from falling. It's an impossible job that justifies his isolation.
He'd rather do that than the messy, humble work of just living.
Which kind of leaves us with a final question for you, the listener, building on that idea. What simple, humble cause, or maybe just a small act of genuine vulnerability, do you avoid engaging with?
You know, because deep down, maybe you're afraid it won't be grand enough to justify the risk or the effort.
What messy, imperfect human connection are you putting off while you wait for a perfect one?
Something to think about.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.